You know, I really thought that Arnold Schwarzenegger was gonna give Tookie a party, man. I think he made a big mistake. I think Arnold Schwarzenegger gonna go down in history in a bad way. I really thought he was gonna give Tookie a party and a clemency because Tookie really deserved it, man. You know, the evidence wasn't there. The can't get a ballistics off a shotgun. You know, it's a real sensitive subject to me because I've seen a lot of guys, you know, they try to turn in some guns and get Tookie off the death row. But I really think, man, Arnold made a real bad decision. It wouldn't hurt the guy to get a guy a life sentence because maybe he would have got that off too. Because one thing about a man that's been incarcerated for a long time, it's the thing that's called forgiveness. You know, a lot of times when I see people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, man, you know, sometimes people, when they do something to you, they say, you know, the Bible says turn the other cheek. But you know, when you do something to them, they always say, oh, you know, it's eye for an eye, you know, go back into the Old Testament. And that's one thing I noticed about Arnold Schwarzenegger. I think Arnold kind of didn't like Tookie because Tookie was just swole with no steroids. Arnold been taking steroids since he came over from Australia. And one thing about a guy, man, that really works his body, man, and he ain't putting all that hormones in his body to get big, man. I think Arnold was kind of jealous. And I seen Tookie on the Gung Show. And the Gung Show, he did some things on the Gung Show. But I really think California made a mistake by killing Tookie. Because not only that Tookie was a role model for redemption, I really think that the next generation, they looked up to Tookie, and when you take their leader, that's just like taking one of the superheroes away that kids fantasize on since they was kids. And you know, one thing about muscles take discipline. If you don't have discipline, you can't get big. I don't care how much you do. And when you got a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger, you didn't put in the work. You used steroids. You cheated. Then you cheated a man out of his life. And I'm not judging, but at the same time, the Bible says Jesus is going to judge all humanity at the end. And a lot of times you bring death on yourself by taking life. Because when you take a man's life, you didn't give it to him. And why would you take it? And then you thought that by taking a guy's life, you guys was in pretty much the same profession. And you took a man's life, man, that was a hero in Los Angeles. I understand that he was charged, and it's always, people hurt on both sides. Don't nobody win in a situation like that. You have family, you have his family, you have their family. But when you sit in prison, man, and you have a life sentence or a death penalty, and you sitting there and you know that one day you're gonna die. And I sat in prison, man, and I had a life sentence, and I didn't know when or what time that I would get out of prison. And I wouldn't want prison for my worst enemy. It's like being put in a warehouse. And people tell you, go eat, go to the bathroom, stand up, count. Can't do this, can't do that. And maybe one day, Arnold will realize that you came to California. And California has a culture. And the culture is muscles, bodybuilding, low riding, affiliation with different cultures, neighbors, and that's what makes LA so special. You was in Venice Beach working out with some of the most brilliant bodybuilders in the United States. And you didn't even put it in your heart to think about a man came from nothing, that didn't cheat to get his body the way it was. Just because he was born like that don't mean that he didn't deserve to have life. See, because I have a podcast called Life After Life. And sometime I was eating a piece of candy one day, and I ate the candy and it was gone, and the guy said, hey man, I said, let me get another piece of candy. He said, no. He said, you see that piece of candy you ate? That's how life is. You only have one. And I said, So you ain't got no more candy, right? He said, no. See, one thing about candy, stolen water is sweet. It's sweet while you're stealing it. But when you get caught, it ain't sweet no more. Stolen water is sweet. I remember back in the days, man, we was doing a lot of things, and we thought we was getting away with it. I had a girlfriend, I was doing things, and I thought I was doing something slick. I thought I was being a player. But I was doing it, but when she started doing it, oh yeah, you can't do that. Because stolen water is sweet. And I don't have time to be pointing fingers at people. But at the same time, when you point your finger at a person, you got three pointing back at you. And one thing about Los Angeles has a way of remembering things. They don't have amnesia. And one thing about LA is this. You got to remember this. People from LA is all around the country. It's just how it was set up. And people from LA have a certain kind of abilities to make the crowd or to make the people, the neighborhoods cheerful. That's one thing about California. We is a melting pot of different cultures. And by me being from Los Angeles and I'm way out here in Texas, I think I brought something down here that can be cultivated into something powerful, meaningful, because there's a lot of colleges down here. And just having an opportunity to come back 34 years later and find out that Fort Worth have 1 million people in here now. When I left, it wasn't that many people here. And the culture have shifted. These young guys have shifted. Wealth have shifted. And we all have to live on this earth. But I can't tell you heavenly things when you don't understand earthly things. And tap into my podcast, Life After Life.